a man saw a dog eating dirt out of thirst, so he took out his khuf and continued pouring water till his thirst was quenched, and then Allah showed his appreciation and entered him into paradise. So we said that given that human beings are the stewards of the earth, then that means also that all the creatures in it are entrusted to him to attend to their needs, to provide or at least maintain an environment that's sustainable for these animals to continue to exist, so forth. So, and that does not contravene the concept of taskhir, which is that they've been put there for also our benefit and our use, but again in a sustainable manner, much in the same way that the trees and the ocean and the environment, all of that is to be maintained and for human beings' use, but not in a way that it's abusive or would lead to its eradication or extinction, which is kind of what's happening now. So then this man, when he saw the animal thirsty, he took his khuf, basically his shoe or his type of, whatever he's wearing on his foot to walk around in, and basically he ruined it in order to quench the thirst of the animal, right? Because imagine taking your shoe and then, getting water out of the river or the well. It's going to ruin it. So he did that because there was a higher, more moral imperative at stake, namely that this animal shouldn't have to eat the dirt because it's thirsty. And you can make the argument that it wasn't necessarily a life and death situation either. Animal may have wandered on and found something else, so it may not have necessarily been close to death. The hadith doesn't indicate that. But nevertheless, the man took it upon himself to take care of this animal in that way. And so he didn't hesitate to do that. And therein lies the meaning or the secret of why for this simple act such a great reward entered into paradise. So our acts are not really about the quantitative aspect of it, right? It's not about, someone could have opened up a kennel for stray animals and feeds 1,000 dogs and cats every day, but it's like a blip for him. And he may do it because he gets his name on the name of the kennel. Versus this person, may have been the only khuf he's had, maybe the only thing that he had, but nevertheless he didn't hesitate to do that. So is that meaning in this man's heart by which this great reward came about, right? And we know that the hearts are mahal nadharillah, that the hearts are what Allah is looking at. Allah la yanzur ila ajsadakum wa rasurukum walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum. Doesn't look to your forms or your bodies, but He's looking to your hearts. So the act is merely an indicator of what's in the heart. So it wasn't so much by the act itself, right, but rather by what was behind it, right? So his feeling of compassion for this animal, right, and also it is the important aspect, really the secret of our acts and how they are accepted and how they're rewarded is the sincerity with them. So there is absolutely no, you can't conjure any type of material gain for this person when he did this. It doesn't mention other people watching him and they thought he was a great guy as a result, and people then wanted to marry their daughters to him. And none of that is there. But rather, no one is seeing him. This came from wahi, revelation. So he did it in the middle of nowhere, maybe in the desert or the forest. No one saw him. No one ever will know what he did. But that is an indicator it's closest to sincerity. So he was completely sincere in his performance of this, what would seem to be a trivial act, a trivial thing. The flip side, there's another hadith that most of us know of the woman who kept a cat. And she kept her, and she said, the hadith says, neither did she feed it, nor did she leave it to eat of the vermin or of the things that it can eat. فَأَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ النَّارِ. And then Allah put her into hellfire. Again, an animal, right? But her abuse of that animal, right? It's not the act itself, but the meaning behind what's in that heart of abusing that animal, feeling that you can have province over this animal, right? And that's what happens when people get into this state. They think they're God, right? They say, well, I can make this thing live, I can make it die, I have the power over it. That's what's really despicable, right? Because there are certain things that are only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for God. So, al-kibriya wal-'azama wal-jalal, these attributes of magnificence and awe, that's only for Allah. When you start claiming that for yourself, right, then you're contravening your natural state of ubudiyya. You're a slave, and you're in a slavehood, servanthood to God, and that's actually the prime and the highest that you can achieve. But if you have ambition to rule over people, to overcome them, to kind of feel the power, the need to set their course in life, then you're encroaching on territory that's not yours at all. And this is when people get into all sorts of trouble with that.
Also, can we say that because of the urgency of the dog, because he was so thirsty, that too was like one of the components of God rewarding that man with such high...
Yeah, I mean, you can infer that, but I think ultimately it's his sense of compassion and his willingness even to sacrifice even something we may consider to be trivial, but nevertheless his willingness to do that for a greater purpose. And that's a general principle in the Sharia, that they give the standard scenario: if you're praying on the side of the river, even a fard prayer, and then someone is drowning in the river, what do? You continue the prayer, or you let the person